Hey everyone, I just want to say hello right now. If you are new, my name is Marie Brock, and I wanted to um, introduce a very good friend of mine. This is one of my best friends. This is Karen Hunter. And what is so interesting about Karen's relationship and my relationship is we have never actually met in person. So we are hoping to do that within the next couple months. But Karen, say hello to everyone and let's tell them a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm Karen Hunter. I am a retired pharmacist who shortly before retirement, my husband and I bought a small hobby farm. And so we have goats, sheep, ducks, chickens, cats, dogs. I think that's it.
Almost all the
So yeah, so we have the sheep for meat, the goats for milk, which is what Marie and I are going to visit about today. And then I had ducks for eggs. And then just recently, with all the concern about sustainability and stuff, we ended up with 11 chickens. So I have yet to have an egg from my chickens, but I have 11 chickens. And then we have dogs and cats. But we moved here with one dog and one cat, very much citified.
So you've definitely branched out.
We've been learning a lot.
Oh my goodness, I know farm life, so something my husband and I aspire to so much, us with our chickens right now. We love to be just like you, having those goats and sheep out there. So I thought it would be really fun to bring Karen on and to ask Karen some questions specifically about her dairy goats. And so I'm going to get right into that. So, and I've got my little questions here so I don't have mom brain and forget what they are. So Karen, so you told us a little bit how you came to be raising the goats in farm life.
Mhm.
Was that something you always wanted to do, or was it just kind of like a newer aspiration as you got closer to retirement?
Um, I discovered years ago, and I was trying to think how long the other day, about 20 years ago, I discovered I did not tolerate cow's milk. So we removed that pretty much entirely from my diet and from everybody else's as much, and tried the box milks and stuff. And I was at a conference as a pharmacist, and there was a dietitian speaking, and I said, would I be able to eat goat cheese? And she goes, I have no idea. And so a little experimentation, I knew I could eat some goat cheese. And so that was a long time, many years ago. So we moved over here 2008, 2008. And my health, I had no cows, I had no cow's milk. We had totally eliminated that. And we're going along, and I knew I could do goat's milk, and I had discovered some other things about my health. And it's like, okay, I need to be able to produce more of our own food. We
Mhm.
need to have more control over this. And so sooner than we really planned, because it was before retirement, we bought a small farm and we moved out here with a dog and a cat. And it was about 3, 4 months, and we added goats and sheep and not a clue what we were doing.
Isn't that how
And
it
it
goes?
was a
You
while
just kind of
before
jump in.
we had goat milk, but I tolerate goat milk and goat cheese. So that was why we got goats, was so that I could have, because I tolerate goat milk. So I make cheese and kefir and soap and lotion and all things goat.
And you and I have that in common as well. That was kind of a similar story I discovered years ago. In gosh, when in 2009, just the foods that were aggravating me, foods that I was intolerable to. And I recently after that learned about the benefits of raw milk and specifically goat milk. And just the difference in protein that with cow's milk and all the things. And so I figured out that, oh, wow, I can tolerate that too. And it's like, such a blessing to be able to have that
Yeah.
because healthy dairy can be such a wonderful, nutritious food when your body is able to take that in. So for your goats, Karen, like what do they eat?
Our goats eat hay during the winter, and we're very blessed. We grow our own hay. It's a lot of work, but we have our own hay. They get a mixture of hay and pasture during the growing season. So they get put out on pasture starting in about May, and they'll be out until it snows, until we get a good heavy snow. So pretty much through October into November, they'll have access to green pasture. Our bucks, we have two, eat weeds and hay. They're in an area that has a lot of weeds, but it has some grass. So it's pasture. Goats are browsers, so we let them along the edges of the hayfield and especially along the back, and they eat the weeds and the trees and everything in between. On the milk stand, they get barley and sunflower seeds.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So a huge reason why I wanted to kind of have this chat with you was I wanted to know, as a goat farmer, and what are some things, and you like recently like selling milk, what are some things as a consumer that we should ask our local farmers to be sure that we're getting like a safe quality product to consume at home?
you want to know how, not just what the animals are fed. It's of interest whether they're what's called dry lot. I have a number of friends who milk, who their animals are basically in a dry field or pasture or paddock, or the sizes vary, and all they get is hay. They never get pasture, and that makes a big difference. So what they're eating is a good question. What steps are taken for parasites? Parasites are a big issue for ruminants because they're passed through the GI system and they graze. So if you're grazing on the ground where all the poop falls, you're highly susceptible to parasites. So what do you do to prevent parasites? What do you do if they're sick? How do you treat them? And as an example, the biggest problem I've had with my goats has been mastitis soon after birthing. And I've always done homeopathy. And so I don't have to hold my milk when I'm treating them homeopathically. Usually the mastitis occurs in the first couple of weeks, and I'm not passing that milk on to anyone. That's just for our use so that I have milk in my coffee. But, you know, if they have an infection and you use antibiotics, that milk shouldn't be consumed. Likewise with parasites, we had a bad parasite problem that got away from us. Normally I use herbs. It got away from us mostly among our sheep, we think, but we had to treat our goats. So I had no milk available for 2 weeks.
Okay.
To people outside. So, you know, how do they treat? If possible, to see where the animals live, because that speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open about, you know, how I milk. My milk gets strained several times. I milk into a pail covered with a cloth,
Okay.
like a dish towel folded. That way stuff falls off their belly because you have it under their belly.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff doesn't get in the milk. And then I filter it when I get in, and then I chill it. I put it in the freezer for 45 minutes to an hour to drop the temperature rapidly. I've heard of some people milking, they put their milk pail in a bucket of ice,
Mm-hmm.
but that just isn't practical. They kick things over, and it's kind of a busy place in the barn.
I can imagine.
Oh yeah. And so, you know, it gets filtered and it gets put in glass jars and put in the freezer. My puppy was just noticed that he's inside. He's
Oh.
kind of spoiled. So anyway, but you know how, and if possible, visit, you know, can you see the animals? Can you know, I always invite people to come out and see the goats. And you get a good feel
That makes a
for
lot
if
of
they're treated
sense.
well, and how goats are, if you get angry with them, you're going to have trouble with them. And so are the goats happy? Are they content?
What do you think? What are good signs of happy animals?
They're friendly. They look healthy. Their coats will be shiny. I mean, I go out there and they crowd around me. They're not real skittish, but they look healthy. You can tell by
Okay.
looking at animal. If their coat's really dull, if they're super lethargic. Now, granted, it's hot out today, so my animals aren't up moving around a lot. But you look at them, their coats are all shiny. They're all pretty much filled out. I have one that's on the thin side, but she's one of my older goats. So
Okay. And those are the main things that we want to look out for.
yeah, and look to see how they're cared for. So, if you go and it's a small space and they're only getting dry hay and it's really dirty,
Mm-hmm.
the animals aren't going to be as healthy. It's like any of our meat. You want them to have some access to pasture.
Sure. And then, if they're not
You know what?
healthy,
I opened it, but they weren't interested.
then if they're not healthy, the milk's not going to be healthy for us.
Right. And I always offer anybody who wants to consider getting milk, if they want to have a sample,
Mm-hmm.
to taste it, take a quart home, see what you think. Because it tastes very different than what most people think goat milk tastes like.
Mm-hmm. And we love it. We absolutely love it. Yeah, my little boy cannot get enough of it. So we look forward to that day when we can actually have our own. And I know that'll be a lot of work, which I will be coming to you and asking you all kinds of questions when that day comes. So Karen and I, the way that we met was actually through health coaching school. So we went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, not at the same time, but I think I had graduated just before Karen, right, Karen?
I think so.
And then at that time, I don't know if they still do things this way, but at that time they had a mentoring program. And so I was part of that. So I wound up Karen and I were in a separate to the side, like Facebook group. I think it was for Christian health coaches, right?
I think so.
And that's how we met. And Karen was looking for her mentor because that was like the last leg of like graduation. And so we met that way and we just stayed in touch and we have been close friends ever since. And I don't even know how many years ago that was.
About 8, I think.
8. And so we're both health coaches. Karen focuses on the nutrition side, which I do too, but I'm branching out into some other areas, and Karen, hormones as well, right? Like helping, like
I do
female
some hormones. I'm a retired pharmacist. So my biggest focus as far as health coaching is reversing chronic disease,
Mhm.
because so many diseases are lifestyle choices or a result of the choices we make in our lifestyle. So
Absolutely.
things like diabetes, hypertension, even some cancers that are early, a lot of those can be treated with lifestyle change. And so I walk through that, specifically focusing on what foods you need to do, how you need to change, not just your food, but your lifestyle
Mhm.
to reverse the conditions that set you up for the chronic diseases.
That is so important. And you offer Juice Plus to your clients as well, right?
I do.
So can you share with us your website? So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you?
Oh, my website is in sad shape.
Well, if somebody wanted to contact you, what would be the best way?
The best way would be to email me.
Okay.
It's Karen at pharmacytopharmacy.com.
Is it
and
okay
Marie
if I
can
put
put
that
that
up?
in the notes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My website is pharmacy2pharmacy.com, but I started upgrading it or updating it, and my support person disappeared and I never finished, and
Oh, internet things.
internet things, technology. So the best is through email.
Okay, email is best. Well, great. Thank you so much, friend. This was wonderful.
Yes, this was a lot of fun.
And so, yeah, if you guys want to contact Karen, make sure to give her an email. And I will make sure that that is like up on the video. God willing, I'm able to do that with technological things. And if not, if nothing else, I'll put it down in the comments.
That'll
And
be best.
hopefully you and I will talk again together soon about some other things down the road.
Okay.
Right. I love you, friend. And we are going to stop recording. And if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And I know Karen will be able to see them and answer them. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being with us.